Welcome to the Media Tech Hub virtual launch. The Media Tech Hub, bringing journalism and tech together. Welcome to the Media Tech Hub virtual launch. The Media Tech Hub, bringing journalism and tech together. Welcome to the Media Tech Hub virtual launch. The Media Tech Hub, bringing journalism and tech together. Many thanks, Bonner Titus. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we hear you.
And thank you so much for being part of this conversation. In the past, in the midst, they say in the midst of a presented enormous challenges to people's health and livelihoods. It's actually the online space and virtual interactions that have become more important than ever. Yes, we are battling the COVID-19 pandemic, but at the same time, we must win the war against the corruption pandemic, so to speak. So distinguished ladies, guests, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Johnson Mwakazi, your event moderator and fellow countryman in the fight against corruption. It is a great honor to welcome you to the Media Tech Hub virtual launch, bringing journalism and tech together, courtesy of Transparency International Kenya and For Your Media Institute. Without a doubt, media offer a key route for information about governmental, administrative, and business activities to be disseminated throughout society, and thus providing the public with a critical capacity to hold those in power in the past.
Goals from the NASA Commission. If you can just look around, that is my colleague, that's a media person.
What was a routine news beat for Citizen TV senior political reporter Francis Gashuri quickly turned into a nightmare.
Sisi kama wanahabari, sisi tu ni watumwa, lakini hatufai kupigwa.
We would like to ask the security forces to actually hasten it and assure us of our safety, because some of my colleagues are afraid and are even scared.
In one of the ugliest scenes of media attacks in Kenya, on March 26, 2018, the Kenya Police Service was on the spot for assaulting and injuring journalists at work. GSU and plainclothes officers attacked TV and newspaper reporters and cameramen as they covered the drama that ensued.
What journalists drawn from different media houses in Embu County thought would be a normal day at work telling stories quickly took a turn for the worse. They were suddenly on the receiving end of a very physical contingent of anti-riot police.
As journalists, it was a bad incident for us.
And the action by the police did not stop there. They barred the journalists from reporting.
This should not happen again to any journalist in this nation.
Well, that is the past, but of course there is hope. Bringing journalism and tech together. And of course, here we are talking about the Media Tech Hub that is set to be a game changer as an innovative space for positive social change using all forms of media. And so we want to celebrate all the techies out there. We want to celebrate all the media stations that are now at the very center of using technology. And of course, the Media Tech Hub will bring together social change software developers, innovators, and journalists to develop and harness the use of innovative solutions, leveraging on the use of technology and data to bring about transparency and accountability. Here, journalists can meet and brainstorm with innovators, software developers, and jointly develop innovative solutions to address the gaps in achieving effective reporting on accountability issues affecting public service delivery. Of course, we talked about the aspect of Mentimeter. And so right now we'd like to just know who is joining us right now. So I'd kindly request that you grab your phone for a moment, please. Grab your phone. Let's see this one working through. So I'd kindly request that you get your phone so that we are ready to engage via Mentimeter. Mentimeter.com, that's www.menti.com, MENTI.com. So once you're there, please use the code 56452715. That's www.menti.com. Use the code 56452715. And you will see a hands up sign. Fantastic. I can see one person already joining in. Well done. 4 people. Fantastic. Excellent. Excellent. We really want to find out who you are, of course, and what are your key recommendations moving forward? I can see 4 people have joined in. So it's just www.menti.com. And then you use the code that is on the screen there, 56452715. And we'd love to just know who is present as we're talking about bringing journalism and tech together as we launch the Media Tech Hub, courtesy of Transparency International Kenya. Okay, very quickly, because of time, I'll just move on to the second question so that we get a feel of who is present at the moment. So what type of organization do you represent? Is it media? Is it tech? Is it government? Is it academia? Okay, so far I can see who's leading. 20% academia, tech is coming up as well. Media, fantastic, because this is why we're here as well. CSOs, well done. So CSOs at 35, media 35 as well. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's keep going. So, media and CSOs. Okay, but we still have academia and tech. Okay, tech. We expect you to be more, but no worries. We celebrate all those who are here. But so far we can see media is leading, followed by CSOs. Okay, fantastic. Now, moving forward, as we're talking about the Media Tech Hub, and especially for the journalists out there, the question would be, which of the following issues would you be most interested in? All right, which of the following issues would you be most interested in? So is it trainings for journalists? Just look at your phone. Is it mentorship for journalists? Okay, so I can see the first developing tech solutions for journalists. Well done. Followed by trainings for journalists. Okay. We can see offering online courses for journalists is also coming up. Well done. Trainings for journalists, developing tech solutions for journalists. That seems to be the most endearing aspect in regards to the media tech. Okay, so offering online courses for journalists is coming fourth place.
Once again, apologies for the technical hitch that we're experiencing. Maybe just to move on as we get things in order is, I hope you can hear me. Anybody?
Yes, Titus. You're on, Titus.
All right, thank you. So thank you very much. And I think we just proceed as we try and get things right in terms of our facilitator. So the program says that we go to the next item, and we've already identified that we have quite a bit of good representation on the screens. We have representation from civil society, media, tech, activists, and people who have an interest in issues of media and advancing accountability. So I think we'll go right to the welcoming remarks from the Executive Director, Sheila Masinde from Transparency International, who will lead us in that session. Karibu, Sheila.
Thank you very much, Titus. Good morning to everybody. It is really nice to see everyone who has been able to join us here today for this very exciting launch event. So to our esteemed invited panelists and guests and partners, a very good morning. All protocols absolutely observed. I take this opportunity to welcome you all to the launch of the Media Tech Hub platform, jointly implemented by Foyo Media Institute and TI Kenya. Maybe indulge me a little bit. I see some names I've not seen before. It would have been good to meet in person, but with the current situation, we're just happy with the opportunity to be able to meet virtually, albeit with a number of technical challenges. But I know for many of us, Safaricom, for those of us on Safaricom Wi-Fi, it's been misbehaving quite a bit. So I also hope that I am able to finish my remarks before my own Wi-Fi misbehaves. So just for purposes of those who are interacting with us for the first time, maybe indulge me a little bit to tell you about TI Kenya. We are a not-for-profit organization founded in 1999. Our aim is to develop a transparent and corruption-free society through good governance and social justice initiatives. And we are among the autonomous chapters of the Global Transparency International movement, which are all bound by a common vision of a corruption-free world. TI Kenya is currently implementing initiatives in three main outcome areas. One is public accountability, and this is where exciting and very innovative work such as the Action for Transparency project, and which is also the host of the Media Tech Hub, is domiciled. And the main aim of public accountability program is really to strengthen citizens' involvement in the fight against corruption. So for instance, through the use of media, and that is why we are paying a great emphasis in building the capacity of media to report on corruption, because we believe media is key in mobilizing citizens to act against corruption. We also have the Policy, Legal and Institutional Frameworks Program, whose aim is to advocate for the inclusion of transparency and accountability provisions in policy formulation and strengthen institutions of governance. And we're also working on social justice and economic accountability by looking into issues pertaining to tax justice. We are concerned about the ballooning public debt and also advocating for the fair distribution of public resources. Now, having worked in the media industry in the formative years of my career, I really have a great appreciation on the role that media plays in shaping public discourse, particularly on issues around public accountability. Now, the media has also featured prominently and not just prominently, but favorably in our biannual bribery index, and not in the so-called list of the most bribery-prone institutions, but as the most trusted institution by the public in the fight against corruption. We normally seek the views of Kenyans on their perceptions on the fight against corruption. And one of the questions we ask them, who do you have most trust and belief in regard to fighting corruption? And in our last poll, I remember that many Kenyans, majority of Kenyans said that they trusted the media the most in regard to the fight against corruption because they see it as a trusted source of information. So the launch today is really an affirmation of our own commitment to continue working with journalists and the media in advancing the anti-corruption agenda. And this launch particularly is also as a result of many meaningful and I would add impactful engagements that we have had as TI Kenya with the media, particularly under the Action for Transparency project. I can see a lot of our media partners here and who have had very, very intensive engagements through the Action for Transparency project. And these include capacity building and trainings. There have been numerous of this in the last 5 years, and also the grant and mentorship program. TI Kenya has also embraced the use of technology in a big way. And this has really complemented our work with journalists and the public by providing information platforms for reference and information sharing on accountability issues, like the Action for Transparency mobile app, the public audit portal, the RADA database where we collect the information on past or concluded corruption cases. And then we have the COVID-19 aid tracker, which is hosted by the Action for Transparency portal, but these are just to name a few. As TI Kenya, I just want to reiterate that we really remain committed to supporting the media. As I said, the sector is critical in the fight against corruption, and we'll continue to invest in it. And really thank our partners who have enabled us to have structured engagement with the media and have supported us through the journey, particularly the For Your Media Institute and the Embassy of Sweden. I therefore wish to open this discussion today and hope that you will find opportunities to be able to engage with us in this new frontier of media and tech. So karibuni to this session, and we will interact more in the course of the program. Back to you, Titus Omwakazi, if he's managed the Safaricom challenges. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sheila. And thank you for the brief remarks around what Transparency International Kenya has been doing and working with the media very closely. I think from that, and I think what we are now experiencing just buttresses the need for us to have media and tech work better together. We are using media platforms, communication platforms enabled by technology, and therefore this is just a challenge to harness the work that we are going to be doing under the Media Tech Hub. So following this, then I think we can go directly to remarks from our partners from FOYO. That is Mr. Las Tellert, the head of policy and international development at FOYO Media Institute. I think who managed to tell us a bit more about FOYO and what the partnership has been with TI Kenya and media development at large. So karibu sana, Las.
Thank you. And I see for some reason I tend to be Anki Wood in this session, which I can assure you that I'm not, even though I'm a good friend of Anki Wood, that is the program manager of Action for Transparency. So dear friends, honored to be here together with you, and happy to say a few words on this launch, and particularly happy to do this jointly with our longtime and close partner, Transparency International Kenya. FOIO has for 50 years supported professionalization of journalism and journalism in Sweden and globally, on the local level, as well as nationally, regionally, and internationally. During these 50 years, we have seen a tremendous change in the media landscape, from printed newspapers dominating the landscape to today, where social media, digital tools, online launches, and never-ending Zoom meetings have become part of our daily lives. However, as independent quality journalism, it is threatened due to political repression, media capture, and the fact that the global social media platforms grab most of the digital advertising revenues. As a result, independent quality journalism, an absolutely necessary pillar in any democracy, risks to become eroded. But despite this gloomy situation, we see outstanding journalism that is produced and published every day. Journalism that hold people in power to account and that explains society and the world we live in based on deep knowledge and on exceptional ability to communicate. Today's journalists have an extremely demanding profession. On the one hand, you need to have an ability to handle the journalistic craft, where digitalization requires extraordinary digital skills, understanding how to use databases, digital information, as well as having the ability to handle both text, image, video, and audio. On the other hand, solid knowledge is also required about society and the topics that we journalists cover. So I see the launch of this Media Tech Hub as timely and a very needed resource, and I'm sure it will be greatly appreciated by journalists in Kenya and internationally. But journalists alone cannot create change. It can only happen in close collaboration with others, through close cooperation with local, national, regional, and international partners, with civil society, with the tech community and government. I believe we can jointly fight and decrease corruption. I see the relation between journalism, civil society, the tech community, and government like a very honest friendship. It's a kind of friendship where you don't pretend. If you see that your friend is corrupt, you tell him, you criticize him, but not in order to break him, but in order to make him improve. And this has been the logic for Action for Transparency since we started in 2012. We scrutinize local government to make them improve. But as journalists, we stay loyal to our obligation to the truth and the loyalty to the public. And together we are fighting corruption, and we are putting the power to change in the hands of citizens, allowing them to use one of the most powerful weapons in our time, the smartphone. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lars. Indeed, journalists cannot bring change by themselves, but they are key enabler towards the change that we desire and the change that we hope to see in this country and globally. So thank you very much for a lot of collaboration that has seen the growth of the F40 project to now what we are launching today in terms of the Media Tech Hub. And maybe to take us more into discussions around what we've been working through to this point, I would invite Anki Wood, who is an international project manager for the Action for Transparency project, to take us through Action for Transparency media engagements that have led us to this event today. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Titus. Can you hear me properly?
I can hear you clearly.
That's great. Thank you so much. Yeah, so as Titus said, I have the enormous fortune to be the program manager working together with Action for Transparency team and with TI Kenya on Action for Transparency. And it's a delight because they work so hard. We all work hard. And I think many things have been achieved since we started in 2015. And very much it's been about building trust, gathering information. And then when we had something to offer, we started to work with media. And that's when things really take off, because media can make change. It gets really a punch to the work we're doing to work with media. We have so far, I think, when I look back at our documentation of our work, worked with more than 200 journalists with trainings and media forums and discussions and so on. We've had trainings in fact-checking and data journalism, gender and corruption, access to information, and safety and security for journalists, which is something that's getting more and more necessary, as we saw in the video a moment ago. But the strongest journalistic result come from our grant and mentorship programs that Sheila mentioned. We've had 3 groups, in total 27 journalists that have received a grant, and then they get coaching and mentoring to be able to do a digging investigative reportage, where they have a context where they can bounce off ideas, where they can discuss how to find the necessary information. And I will just give one example. There are 22 very good examples, as I mentioned, but one of them is particularly interesting because it shows the role of media. One of the grantees heard through the Action for Transparency that there were some school buses that had been procured. It was a parliamentarian that through the National Government Constituency Development Fund managed to fund 2 school buses. And this program is the fund is there to benefit communities. And one of the school buses was meant for a public school serving a large slum population. And there was a beautiful handover, a ceremony, the bus came, there was a nice event. And then the people that came with the bus got on the bus again and left, and the bus was never seen again. So this journalist, she decided to trace this bus. This was in the beginning of, the bus was procured in the beginning of 2017. And she tracked it down. It had been used during the 2017 general elections, and it was branded with political party colors and ferrying campaigners. That's what happened to the bus. The students of the school never put foot on this bus. So 2 interesting things to note about this. The journalist wanted to interview the MP, she did investigations, and she received threats. The MP and his cronies threatened her. But she published, and the second thing that happened that shows the role of media was that there was a by-election very soon after the article was published, and he was not re-elected. That's how you put power to account, with the help of Action for Transparency and journalism. We have also partnered in the work with journalism and to train journalists. We have partnered with different media organizations and academia. We worked with USIU, United States International University in Rwanda, with Aga Khan University and University of Nairobi School of Journalism. Other important media organizations are Editors Guild of Kenya and Media Council of Kenya. And we were very, very proud of this cooperation, and that you want to work with us, and what that gives to this program and to the journalists that participate. The work we've done has been made possible through the Swedish Embassy in Nairobi, and also through through CHARM, which is a Sub-Sahara consortium that FOI is part of, and also from the Swedish Institute Creative Force program. And just a quick note on that, through that program, we had a training with 2 Swedish investigative journalists that also cooperated with Kenyan journalists during our project, and they wrote a reportage about cash transfers and followed the money all the way to Turkana and saw how it disappeared on the way and how little arrived with the people that were meant to receive the money in Turkana. And this reportage has now been nominated for one of the biggest journalists prize, the biggest journalist prize in Sweden. So this international interaction is also very interesting. And we hope that through the Media Tech Hub that it will be possible to do border crossing cooperation with Sweden and with other countries, and especially regionally, which is already happening. And we hope that there will be new methods developed. We've already seen the technical platforms that Action for Transparency has developed, and now that will be enforced with Media Tech Hub. And I can't even imagine what they will come up with resources and techniques to find efficient ways to follow the money. So I'm very happy to be part of this. I thank you all for participating today, and I look forward to the continued work we will do together. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Anki, and thank you for your remarks. Just ensuring that participants get a feel of what it takes to do investigative stories and exposing corruption at the very local level with the school bus story, and at the international level, collaboration between journalists in Sweden and Kenya, exposing accountability issues all the way in Turkana. So thank you very much, Anki, and I think we'll now proceed to the other part of our program that is also very essential in terms of discussing a topic. We have a topic for discussion today and a very strong panel of eminent people within our media fraternity, and the same within other spheres of civil society. Maybe we can have our hosts control some of the background noise that is coming in. So I will just share with you our panelists for the day as we go into the next session. Maybe we can have those that shared on the screen. Is it possible from your end? Or am I able to do it? Yeah. So this is what we'll be discussing today, the Media Tech Hub launch, a panel discussion on building new technologies for media, combating corruption, promoting good governance and democracy. And our panelists include Mr. David Omoyo, who is the Chief Executive Officer, Media Council of Kenya. We also have Dr. Nancy Buka, who is Assistant Professor of Communication and Media Journalism, Aga Khan University. We have Ms. Njambi Wagasha, who is the Regional Hub Manager, Innovation for Change Africa Hub. And we have Mr. Isaac Mwenda, Software Engineer, Africa's Voices Foundation. Just to mention, we had quite an engagement with the panelists here. Dr. Nancy Buka has been a mentor within the A40 grant and mentorship program. We have collaborated a lot with the Media Council of Kenya in many events for the media. And Ms. Njambi has also participated as a collaborator in our hackathons under the Media Tech Hub, and same to Isaac Mwenda. So they are all very aligned to the work that we do as Transparency International. And today, as we're doing the launch, it would be great to get insights from them. So maybe just as I introduce and we see that we are all on screen together, I can request that we have the panelists, starting with Mr. David Omoyo, just say hi to us and give us their introductory remarks around the discussion topic of building new technologies for media in combating corruption, promoting good governance and democracy.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Of course, it's a pleasure to be part of this discussion today. What gives me a lot of satisfaction is the fact that TI has recognized that on their own, NGOs or the media cannot bring about transparency. But when we join forces, get the non-government organizations, other transparency, people who are committed to transparency and the media, we can achieve much more. And when we have an NGO that is a non-media developing tools to assist journalists in encouraging transparency and openness, it's very encouraging. So we are proud to be part of this project in a way that we are providing tools to allow the journalists to do their job. And we are glad that then the media, in its function to promote accountability, has been given tools to do its job. Thank you very much.
Asante sana, Mr. David Omoyo. We are proud partners of the Media Council of Kenya and continue to support their work. Dr. Nancy Buka.
Good morning. I'm getting some, I'm unable to start my video because the host has stopped it.
All right, maybe you can proceed as we deal with that. Thank you very much.
Okay, so now I can start my video. Thanks there. So a very, very good morning to everybody who's joining us, and particularly those for who it is morning, for others, good afternoon, or whatever time of the day it is. And it's quite an honor to be, part of this discussion and to see some familiar faces that we've been interacting with in the past. I think this discussion or the launch of this hub couldn't have come at a better time. There's lots that's happening in the media space. We've been talking disruption for a very long time, but what the pandemic has done is that it's kind of hastened us towards the direction that we should be going. And for what many of us have been discussions, the pandemic actually now pushed us to act in that space. And so, looking at the intersections between tech and what the media does is an important conversation, but also just thinking through the different tools that would then support, the work of journalists, from the conceptualization of stories to content creation to distribution, to be able to tell good stories, but also an integral part of, of what then tech should support is how do you include audiences' voices, in the stories. I think for a long time that has been, the disconnect. Are we including audiences' voices in our stories? How are we connecting with them, from whatever part of the world, they're in, so that it's not, our stories are not seen to be, urban-centered. Our stories are seen to be speaking to the needs of the citizenry and responding to their concerns. And as far as, corruption and good governance and democracy is concerned, one of the things that, the Media Tech Hub then, should be looking towards is how do we particularly support journalists in using data to tell stories, because as we know, all data at face value is dirty. And, having been a researcher who works a lot with data, from a research point of view, that data has to be cleaned, it has to be made meaningful, it has to be corroborated by, by different sources or from different sources to be able to tell a meaningful story. And one of the challenges that has been expressed by a lot of the students that we work with, particularly those in our digital journalism program, is the whole question of reporting with data, reporting data, and being able to interrogate that data. And so I am hopeful that the launch of this hub will be an integral part of trying to find solutions towards that, but also a place where journalists can find resources that can support them, both in terms of the tech, but also in terms of the capacity through people who can mentor them and work with them as they use data to be able to tell their stories. So looking forward to the rest of the discussion.
Thank you very much, Daktari, and thank you for your highlights. Disruption using tech, a very good and opportune time to do this, very well noted. And also audience voices in the stories that journalists are telling, and use data journalism and making the numbers or the figures or the graphs speak to actual experiences for those we are reporting to, and changing the society. Thank you very much, Daktari. On to our next, we have Ms. Nancy Wagasha Njambi, sorry. Karibu sana.
Hi, Titus. It's Jambi, not Nancy, but thank you for that correction. Thank you, everyone, for your participation already. Most of the panelists have already said what has already been mentioned. So I'm so happy to be part of this event and to have been invited again by TI Kenya. We've partnered before together, and the work that they're doing is really, really great, and really follows Innovation for Change's mandate of promoting good governance, accountability, and transparency. So, we're all on board in ensuring that the Tech Hub is going to be a tool that's going to be very useful and helping the civic actors in the space and promote the work that we're doing. That's very, very important. So congratulations to TI Kenya and also for your institute for having been able to get this across. I think this discussion around media and data is very important. Already some of the details around that have already been mentioned. But since 2000, we've been living in a very fast-paced information age, a globalized information age, where exchange of information has become very, very quick. And this has brought about a spectrum of civic space actors, and that has also created a civic space ecosystem that has really embraced technology and with much enthusiasm. And this technology has been used to highlight issues of corruption, to highlight issues of mismanagement of funds, and also has been used to develop solutions around how these issues could be tackled, and also how to hold government to account on these particular issues, because that's the main goal of journalists is to expose that because they're responsible for transparency and accountability for society. They're the upkeepers of that and the gatekeepers. And as a fourth estate, they're responsible for being able to divulge the information that can allow citizens to make better decisions about their lives. So that's very key to notice. There's been also a shift in the change of technology. We've seen Kenyans especially use SMS and WhatsApp to report corruption cases and other successful interventions. We've seen reports on police brutality. We've seen tracking and monitoring of electoral malpractice as well as anomalies. We've been able to track country and national budgets, county and national budgets that, have doubtful figures. We've also been able to report crimes. And Kenyans have been able to really use video clips on social media to report several cases of wrongdoing. And they've been able, especially, to expose those in power who have been doing that. And last year, Kenyans took to social media to expose police brutality in enforcing curfew that was imposed by the government to stem the spread of COVID-19. And that was that was very difficult to watch. And the president in the end ended up apologizing for that. So, that shows the power of the media to expose, malpractice on many occasions. And then in terms of engaging civil society and media to increase impact, it's very important that the media plays its role here. And as I mentioned, they're really the fourth estate and responsible for holding the government to account, but also exposing transparency and accountability issues, and not just here in Kenya, but just globally. And as a result, they have to be aware of what's going on. They have to be able to disseminate stories in a factual manner, so that people's lives can be improved. They must use technology to raise awareness about what's happening. They have to provide citizens with information that affects them, as has been the case with COVID-19. So this is an important role that they have to play. And this brings me to the fact that, which is why I really laud TI Kenya and Folio's Media Tech Hub, which was really brought about by the Action for Transparency, the I4T project. And it was developed through working with journalists to really promote technology that can empower citizens and their access to information, and also promote journalists and the ability to monitor the public use of resources in Kenya. So that has been very helpful. And it has been particularly important because, as the panelists have already mentioned, it's not only brought together software developers in terms of technology, but journalists have also been able to develop innovative ideas and solutions to address gaps in effective reporting and accountability issues, which is really very, very important. And also they brought about great and innovative ideas that I'm sure will achieve the desired impact of this initiative. And this is fully supported by the Innovation for Africa Hub. This is, our mandate is really around good governance, transparency, and accountability. And so we know that this Media Tech Hub will really support civic actors, not only in Kenya, but also inspire others in the region to do the same, to come up with their own Media Tech Hub. This is just for Kenya, but the region has the same problems and the same challenges that they also need to be able to work together across and be able to address those. Just to conclude, last year we held a jointly held workshop on data and media with TI Kenya. And that was based in Nairobi, and it was working with journalists in a similar initiative. And we addressed the similar themes, around how can we empower journalists to tell successful stories and to disseminate those stories to improve people's lives here. And we really look forward to continue not only to work with TI Kenya, but other partners who do similar work to raise these issues and to empower not only journalists, because it has a domino effect. Once journalists are empowered, also citizens are empowered. So it correlates them. And we really look forward to having the Media Tech Hub be a tool that we can use. And I look forward to hearing about upcoming events around it. And just to congratulate TI Kenya, TI itself and Folio for really being able to get this done. It's been a long time coming. And I remember talking to Titus about it and really looking forward to when this was going to happen. So at least today is here. And I look forward to upcoming results. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jambi. Thank you for being a very good collaborator of TI Kenya through the I4T project. And you've highlighted issues that are central to this discussion. Civic tech bringing or shifting shifting senses of use of media. We now have social media as a very useful tool in bringing out issues of accountability. You gave the example of police brutality, and very recently we also had Kenyans on Twitter, KOT, bringing out or engaging IMF on the loans that are coming to Kenya, and there was quite a discussion around this and continues to spur a lot of discussions around, so how can citizens better engage in terms of their participation in governance and development processes, and just the insights around the different forms of work that can be done, tracking use of public resources, looking at going regional, collaborating across countries, and such like activities. So thank you very much, Jambi, and we look forward to bigger and better engagements around this. So our last panelist is Mr. Isaac Mwenda he's a software engineer that works with Africa's Voices Foundation. So we'll call on you to just make your opening remarks and reflections around the topic. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Titus. Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me well, Titus.
We hear you clearly.
Thank you so much.
Karibu.
Thank you. So I would also like to congratulate the TI Kenya and also Forger Media for the launch of Media Tech Hub. So I've been part and parcel of the other COVID-19 track application that we are developing, which is more or less also a very powerful tool for displaying, or rather having the COVID-19 expenses in the public. So around our topic on building new technologies for media, as a software engineer, I'm really elated to share that technology, as in the past, allowed us in Africa's Voices to reach out to citizens out there in large scale in a manner that we would not have been possible to do through the old traditional way of collecting data. So how we can merge the two items together. So how can we merge journalism and how can we use technology to further amplify or rather combat corruption and also promote good governance and democracy. So in the two, or rather merging the two, technology allows us to place citizen voices at the center of spaces for dialogue through large-scale immediate analysis of citizen SMS, and through combining it with research and media engagement. And that by bringing these insights back to the media dialogue, it enables transparency and accountability, as the views from citizens can be raised in front of key stakeholders and decision makers. So through that process, technology allows us first to collect data in large scale. So the same way journalism move out there to collect data and do investigations on corruption and then come back and share it with us to the news, we've been able to use technology to reach out to the citizens themselves and ask them, or rather inquire from them about different topics, like the way development projects are being implemented in their areas of maybe their constituencies and counties. We've been able to collect such information, maybe even around COVID-19 and how the health sector is able to is currently implementing the different ways of combating COVID-19. So we've been able to capture real-time citizen voices from different areas through free SMSs. So we encourage people to send their views to a certain short code. We collect that information, and then now this is where technology comes in. Once we capture those messages, we move forward and clean the data, just like the other panelists mentioned. Most of the information we usually generate is usually in a dirty form. So merging in data pipelines, as we call them, that capture these messages and now clean the noise from them and then pick up only the SMSs that actually contain useful information, and then move that data into a report that can be shared with the stakeholders and decision makers. So there are so many ways that we can use technology to improve that process. I'm really, I would say I'm really hopeful that as we go along, we're going to see more and more of these kind of innovations, where now software developers are coming up with systems that help now the media partners to now amplify whatever that they are doing and give back to the country. Yeah, so those are my initial remarks, and I look forward to the panel discussion.
Thank you very much, Isaac. Thank you for your insights on citizen voices and just what skills are being used by techies around crowdsourcing of information from citizen voices to making actual sense of this data for policy change and to drive conversations around accountability. And I think data journalism is a center of the many discussions we've had in the opening remarks right now. And it is therefore just important that we keep in mind the issue of data and how do we clean this data, how do we make it make sense for our users. I think that is reverberating communication from our panelists today. So I'm seeing us a bit short of time, but as we can see, we still have the timer on the MediaTech Hub launch that is still counting, and therefore I will just go straight to a few other discussions with our panelists, and that would include maybe back to David Omoyo on how is the Council's mandate to promote good standards of media practice and community access to information aligned to use of new technologies by media and journalists. I think just around the corner to the World Press Freedom Day, and the Media Council has played a very key role in advancing media development in this country. So, Mr. Omoyo, any insights around how the Council's mandate is also aligned to use of new technologies, and what is the Council doing to promote use of new technologies by journalists?
Thank you very much. Our mandate is really in law to promote journalism, especially develop the high standards of journalism and ensure we will protect the journalists in the line of their work. Technology, you don't have to really entrench it in law. It is a tool. So like if you're meant to transport people and in the age of using horses and the cars come, you don't need new technology. You just adopt you don't need a law to start using cars. You need to update that. So in our work to promote the highest standards of journalism, the Media Council endeavors to make sure that journalists are tooled. That's why we facilitate them to access internet, facilitate them to get the best recorders, to access research and libraries and all that. So the whole idea about the Media Council's mandate to promote standards of journalism is around these tools, especially around investigative journalism and accessing information, and especially holding those in power to account. The Media Council promotes accountability and access to information within the Constitution. So within that broad aspect, then a tool is developed by TI. Remember, TI talks about transparency. It's like making what was locked accessible, making information accessible online, giving journalists the tools to access information without having to plow through libraries and piles of paper by nature of the tool that has been, a tech hub from one point so that you can access and all that. So in our context is that this fits within our mandate, supporting, I was distracted by the messages here about people can't hear, sorry. It's within our mandate, supporting journalists' access to information for public good, and journalists being able then to hold those in power to account by being able to access public information, budgeting information, policy stuff and financial stuff and all that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. And I think access to information is central to the journalists' work. And since the enactment of the Access to Information Act in 2016, I believe, we've had quite some advances in use of these access to information law. But I'm not quite sure that journalists have taken it in stride and used it as effectively as would probably want. We've had a lot of instances where leaders have put out information that needed to be verified, and maybe citizens need to get more information around this. So it's something that we need to still reflect on and see how can journalists best use the access to information laws to get through to our leaders. So maybe going to Dr. Nancy, maybe how can journalists and content creators develop skills in this digital era and still remain relevant? As in, we need to, as journalists, think outside the box. We are now in another era, like has been pointed out by Jambi. There are so many other media platforms that have come up. People are starting their YouTube channels, people on social media, we have influencers. So how does mainstream media continue to remain relevant in this quagmire of so many platforms and technology? Karibu.
Thanks, thanks, Titus. I think it's important that we appreciate the fact that while technology is great, and we are all using it and embracing it, we shouldn't forget that technology is an enabler for the work of journalists and for all of us. And that said, then it just means that the tenets of good journalism cannot be renegotiated. So what makes a good story, in terms of accuracy, fairness, complete reporting, the sorts of sourcing and attribution, still remain. So we cannot sacrifice that at the expense of technology. So with that, then, looking at technology as an enabler of all the processes of ensuring that, the public is informed and that journalists can do their work, I think for me, the first thing that needs to happen is, just being able to accept that, that change is happening and fostering a culture of innovation. Part of the challenge that we have is that, for a long time, journalists have worked in silos, from the rest of society. They, we can't fault them for that because of where society has placed them, almost like on a pedestal. They're the ones to give us the information and to drive the public agenda or the public discourse. But I think what we are seeing and we're going to be experiencing is a lot more of that role being decentralized. So everybody who has an access to a smartphone can tell a story from wherever they are. And what this then points to is that I think one is being able to develop that innovative culture within the newsrooms, those that are working within newsrooms, those that are working independently, but also, investing time and resources to build the capacity of journalists so that they can, harness those skills. And, while, media houses or those in the business of, news production and content creation are so concerned about, being able to churn out information, they might not necessarily be able to spend a lot of time in, ensuring that they're keeping up with the innovations. So what that then does is that, for example, we are launching today, the Media Tech Hub, the innovation centers like what we have at Aga Khan University are very good places, for that sort of innovation to be fostered. And these are guys who spend their time, listening to what is happening, in the tech world and asking themselves, how might that then influence the process of sharing information? And once they have that, then one of the ways in which, journalists can develop those skills is by continuously, learning, the new technologies, continuously learning, continuously monitoring where the audiences are, and learning how to use, the different tools. But a lot of it would also go back to unlearning, some of the things that they have always done. You mentioned the mainstream media. There's a bit of unlearning that needs to happen. Some of the things that, for a long time have made sense, or the platforms that we have used, may need a little more adaptation to be able to reach the current audiences. And that then means that, there are things that we have to say, this is not working anymore. We have to be able to move with the tide. And for that to happen, there are things that they would have to unlearn. So investing in training, both in terms of time and resources, and then of course listening to the audiences and utilizing spaces such as the digital hubs, the tech hubs, the media innovation centers, because this then would be the place where those that are consumed and consumed, with ensuring that they are up to date with technology are, and then working together collaboratively to be able to see how then does that inform their process of news sharing and dissemination.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Dr. Nancy. Learning and unlearning, journalists need to stop working in silos. So there is need for that collaboration, and in the essence of bringing the power of change in the hands of journalists is what we have with new technology. So I think it's in the continued use of these technologies that you get to use or to gain those skills. And in the line of gaining those new skills, just to see how many in the audience have the skill of clapping online. So maybe just some clap for the panelists who have so far presented. Let's just see. Good. I can see. Awesome. I can see 2 claps, 3 claps. Some of us do not know how to clap online. Any more claps? I'm not seeing claps. Yeah, so we have reactions at the bottom of your screens that you can use for clapping and reacting to the issues that have been raised. Also, remember that we have a chat, we have an online discussion with the hashtag journalism and tech, because these conversations may not end here. We have limited time, especially with online engagements. So let's also have these discussions on our social media platforms. We are on Twitter at FT Kenya, at TA Kenya, at Foyo Institute. Please tag us and let the conversation go on. Let those ideas that we're sharing here also reach others outside there. So I welcome also Jambi to share a bit more with us. She introduced a bit of insights around civic tech, but would want to hear more about what opportunities exist for technologists and media in working together, and what have their experiences been in combining these different sectors, ICT, media, civil society, and how can now these build towards ensuring that we have a better future that is free of corruption. That is where our goal is. So Jambi, what insights do you have on that?
Yeah, the goal is to expose corruption, and it's a tough goal to have, and it's a tough initiative that you've taken on, but it's possible through collaboration. And I think we need to be able to really develop innovative ideas and solutions, and it mostly relates to what Dr. Nancy had already mentioned. We need to address gaps in effective reporting and accountability issues. And I think there needs to be a closer cohesion of journalists working with software developers to really try and raise awareness about where the loops are in the system. Because we also we can't forget that digital security or cyber security is also a big issue for journalists trying to protect their investigative work and data that contains very sensitive information that could really put them in danger in terms of exposing that to the public. And I know that at the I4C Africa Hub, we've been really trying to promote digital security training for a lot of technologists, but also journalists, bringing them together to work together around these data management risks of working online, which has been the medium during this pandemic, but even before, but mostly enhanced during the pandemic because everyone is working online. And promoting liberties that allow for the data protection. It's very important that we look into that. and that we understand the increased vulnerabilities of technology and surveillance, especially on the government's part. Journalists and software developers have to get ways and tools of protecting the work that they do, and the digital threats and the risks associated with the management of the information that they're carrying and the investigative work that they're doing as well. There's many security protocols that can be skewed by governments. So we have to make them, and that makes them very vulnerable to not only data loss, but also security for themselves and their families and anyone they're associated with, their colleagues as well. And getting involved in digital best practices, maybe holding conferences, workshops around how digital security best practices can be disseminated and shared with journalists and software developers that are working in this medium. And then they themselves can become trainers of trainers, sort of like experts in threat management that poses threats to their own work, and also approaches on mitigating such risks for their investigative work. And then we need to get back to the old way of doing things, of collaborating, word of mouth, creating networks for exchange and sharing of information, valuable information, in the safest possible way. And then closer coordination with the public. I think we'll be working online, as Dr. Nancy had mentioned, technology can be an enabler, but it can also be an inhibitor of or journalists working in silos and software developers working in silos and not really working closer to the ground where they need to be for public participation and exposure of threats with regards to corruption and transparency and accountability issues that really force the public's hand in making decisions that are out of line with the current reality on the ground. So it's very important that there's a closer coordination and that we develop networks and communities of practice to expose some of these threats and try to mitigate them through training and digital cyber awareness. Thank you, Titus.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jambi. Thank you for the insights and the practices. I think we will continue sharing this. So there's need for a lot of learning, training, continuous learning, like Dr. Nancy had said. There's no one that has some monopoly of knowledge around use of technology. And there is that need for identifying the challenges that journalists face, and those challenges then can be used by techies to develop solutions. So there's a lot of collaboration, co-creation, I think that is required. And also what the security numbers. The more we are in working together, the more secure we become in terms of using our different platforms. And also the idea that you've just shared on going a bit deeper, I think it was also Dr. Nancy, the issues that are brought out through other media or maybe through social media, but I think as journalists, we should be the people that we go to in terms of getting deeper into those conversations. For instance, if it's on the public debt, what conversations are being now driven by media in terms of what was highlighted by citizens online, but we need a bit more deeper and focused conversation that would drive maybe policy change and other actions. So yeah, thank you very much. And I think as we finalize on the panel discussions, I will just request that Isaac then comes in to tell us more about, do we have enough techies working to use their skills in promoting good governance? And if not, how can this be addressed? And what are some of the challenges? Because we're not saying that techies are one bullet of solution to the issues that we've been facing in media development. What are the challenges that probably techies face that we should be aware of, and so that when creating data solutions to promote good governance and such like things, we are aware of what the requirements or the needs for techies would be in this sense. Isaac.
Thank you, Titus. So yes, we do have a number of techies currently using their skills in promoting good governance. So not necessarily in Africa, but just across the world. So we've seen different people come up with different technical solutions. So an example would be there's a France developer who created a bot, a Twitter bot, that was used to capture flights from flights being taken by dictators and the ones that are going to Sweden. So possibly because of money laundering and other aspects. So the bot was able to capture different flights from different countries and the dictators. And one of them was, I think it was a vice president from, I think it was one of the West African countries. I can't recall the actual country, but the bot was able to capture that data, and they were able to pick a pattern of the number of flights that this person was making were quite frequent, and it raised suspicion. And further investigations now by journalists on that, they were able to determine that the person was buying luxury cars from that country and using the government private jets to transport them to the country for his own personal use, and so forth. So that's just one of the examples. Outside Africa, in Africa, we've also had a couple of such initiatives where techies have been able to come up with solutions. So other than specific solutions, techies, I would say they've come up with other technologies that can be used by governments to improve good governance. So examples would be the e-governance that we are currently even using in Kenya. So where you're able to get services from the government of Kenya through Huduma Center and the online version of it. So that's just an example of a technical solution already offering good governance to the people. So someone doesn't have to travel all the way just to apply for or to get government services. So other examples would be there are some innovations that have happened in the past and are currently ongoing improvements. So an example would be blockchain. So the use of blockchain in the future is going to probably assist us to track track some of the expenses that governments are doing if they wish to pick up that one. And it will be easier for people to track expenses that are being done by the government because of how the technology works. I don't want to dive into it. It's a very large topic, but these are some of the simple solutions that techies have been able to come up with. So do we have enough techies? Not yet. I think there's still room for more people to come up with more solutions. There's still, there's a field where techies can now further collaborate with journalists to come up with more solutions for to promote good governance. Yeah, so I would encourage any techie maybe in the panel and with others, let's keep up the pace and let's get more involved in this. So that we can also play our part. And then on the second item, the challenges that techies go through when creating data solutions. Yeah, so a couple of challenges we normally face. The main one that I would probably want to highlight is the lack of domain knowledge. So what normally happens is software developers, they have the skill to build robust systems, but some of they can't use just that skill to solve a certain solution without understanding what the problem is out there. So lack of domain knowledge on the technical side is usually the big gap. So someone may come up with a very good, robust system, but at the end of the day, it's not really solving a solution out there. So what I would encourage as you move on with this process, try and involve more techies in the initial stages of whatever that you're planning to deploy. Give them enough information of what the problem is on the ground so that when they're coming up with a solution, it will be a useful solution. at the end of it all. So the lack of domain knowledge is the biggest challenge here to the techies in creating the data solutions. Over to you, Titus.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Isaac, and fellow panelists. I think it's another time to show those skills on clapping for our panelists. Allowed clap. I see, Cecilia, you're using your skills. Thank you very much. Anki, Collins, Johanna, the claps are coming. Thank you very much. I see in some flares also. Yeah, thank you very much. So I think, Isaac, you've highlighted quite a few very interesting scenarios that we can look up to. It's interesting for us on the Twitter bot. I think some of us may need to go online to know what a bot is, but we have an idea. So the Twitter bot that was able to track where these thieves, for lack of a better word, are going with money that they have stolen from their countries is something interesting. And the connection with our friends in Sweden, I'm sure they would want to see, or maybe already know something around those cases. Then there's also the blockchain that can help to track illicit financial flows. I think this is a financial global, the global finance or tracking illicit financial flows is something that is coming up very strongly, and the blockchain solutions that come up even in, for instance, land and corruption issues that we have faced, and now we are going to online platforms to ensure that we're able to track how this and break the chain of corruption through use of technology. So very good insights around that. And of course, the need for techies to understand what the problem is. So I'm sure the Media Tech Hub will be a place where techies can engage with journalists and get to understand what are these problems that exist, that they can also come up with solutions around. So thank you very, very much, my eminent panelists. Thank you for the online discussions. I'm seeing quite a number of engagements there. There's an issue around how do we take these conversations to our counties? How do we not live, I think, in the spirit of the SDGs, leaving no one behind? How do we not leave those of us, our techies, our journalists working at the counties, to also benefit from such solutions? And I think technology is the only best way, because right now, I know here we have representatives from different counties, from different countries, from different continents, and therefore I think technology is the best way of ensuring that there is collaboration across the sectors. And maybe something else that has been highlighted by the examples that have been shared here by Isaac is the centrality of technology in doing investigative journalism work. And we have quite a number of renowned journalists in Kenya that have done very strong, impactful, and audacious, I think, exposés on corruption, not to mention the list, the most recent one on KEMSA list, and the use of procurement data just to unearth some of the issues that were going on. The investigations are still ongoing, and we hope that we get to the bottom of what transpired. But I think on that note, I would request maybe my colleague Caroline to also share a bit more, because we are looking at issues of not only just general journalism, but also audacious and courageous journalism. And how do we do investigative journalism that is meant to bring about good governance? So maybe you can share. I see there's a video, then we can finalize on the discussions. Maybe we check the sound, Caroline? I can't get the sound from my end. Maybe, do we want to check that? All right, maybe as we get the sound, I think we already have the sound here with us. We have Alan Namu, who has done this.
As true as the person.
Maybe Caroline, we can just hold on to the video, then so that we finalize and maybe get back to it. So thank you very much. I think the insights are better shared from the horse's mouth. And we are pleased to have John Alan Namu, who's done quite impactful investigative journalism work, and would be happy to maybe get some insights from him on investigative journalism and the opportunities that tech would have for enhancing or supporting investigative journalism. John?
Thanks, Titus. Good morning, everybody. This is a very interesting discussion. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to catch all of it because of technology issues on my end. Nonetheless, I mean, it's an important question that you're considering. The role of tech in media, and if I'm honest, I think the media fraternity have been the earliest adopters of new and emerging technology. For the longest time, even if you were to think about the printing press itself, back then that was new and important technology for the advancement of the media's agenda. But now we're in a day and an age where I don't think that there should be so much of a distinction between media and tech as an industry. I think they are supposed to be in lockstep, both in terms of the strategies and the techniques that are used to investigate, for instance. So, like with the video that you were just showing, that profiled some of our work. We were fortunate to have Al Jazeera profile some of the work that we were doing around public procurement and a data leak that we received back in 2018. That helped us through various investigative techniques aided by technology, open source investigative techniques, network analysis, what have you. Helped us analyze what the extent of public procurement fraud is in Kenya and who the players are. As recently as 2 weeks ago, we were talking about a sitting senator and the vice chair of the Public Investment Committee being a tenderpreneur. These are important insights that I think the public should know, and the benefits that we were able to share with the public came in no small part because of the kind of technological techniques that we were using. In 2 weeks, we'll be doing the same with yet another investigation. So just to give you an idea of how important technology, advancements in technology are for investigative journalism specifically. But if I'm to speak more generally about the industry itself, I think that this is a very, very opportune time for legacy media, alternative voices, smaller boutique media houses, such as the one that I'm involved in, to really adopt technology and use it for good. Not just for investigations, but to be able to build business models that can allow for public media as well as private media to sustain itself in one way or another. If you're looking at, and this is a small example, perhaps not the most advanced, but if you're looking at the impact of newsletters as an example on really being able to elevate the voice of the individual journalist and build a community around himself or herself, and the newsletter platforms that are offering this opportunity. That's something that didn't exist or quite in a way that it does today, and is offering journalists across the world an opportunity to survive off of the sweat of their work directly from interacting with the public. So it's things such as these that we need to start looking at as a media fraternity, and start to think more architecturally about how not just using technology when it suits our interests for a specific story or for a specific project, but to really integrate thinking that's applied in technology to media. I think we'll go a lot further than we are now. I think the final thing that I will say is that I'm really looking forward to seeing, the launch of this tech hub and what help it can offer, quite selfishly, to our work as Africa Uncensored, but generally speaking, to the media fraternity in this country. In the next few years, if not just from next year, we will understand the full weight of technology's impact on the media in the way we report the election and in things that are going to be coming soon. Not just as Africa Uncensored, but generally speaking. I think what the public will see is a very different kind of coverage that's informed both by legacy media, but also by voices outside, aided by technology. I'll say, I think that's all I'll say. I'm in the same room as my son and he's homeschooling, so I kind of have to keep quiet because they're going back into class, and I'll follow on silently. Thank you. Thank you for.
Thank you very much, Alan. Thank you for your good work and great insights. And I think the mentorship that you're giving to young journalists that are coming up in investigative journalism is quite unmatched under African Uncensored. And we are happy to collaborate and see better growth of investigative journalism and the benefits to society from that. And I think you've also highlighted an issue that Dr. Nancy had brought out in terms of the unlearnings that mainstream media needs to do. Having a business case for mainstream media adopting, or just media adopting use of technologies and business models for sustainability. I think this is an issue that needs to be unpacked a bit more for a lot of these industry players to realize the centrality of using tech in media work. As we've seen, I think the COVID-19 pandemic has realized that a lot of I would call it the resistance to change towards adopting tech was more of a mindset issue. And now we are moving to the many other sectors. I've already, I think in government, a lot is happening. In the judiciary now, in parliament, we are seeing a lot of engagements on, and for the states is also an area that needs to be at the forefront in use of technology around this. And I think for us is just to identify these opportunities that we're already seeing online. I'm seeing a lot of opportunities being shared by different players or participants in this forum on what they are doing. So I encourage you to continue sharing these opportunities on the chat, and participants will identify and maybe see areas of collaboration under this or as we go on with this forum. So at this juncture, I think I would probably see to it that we go into just understanding what the Media Tech Hub is all about. And as we go towards the launch, I don't know if my co-host Mwakazi is with us now.
No, Titus, continue.
All right, so we'll just go into understanding what are the components or what are the key issues that we are looking at when we talk about the Media Tech Hub. And this will be done by my colleague, Caroline Giathi. I don't know if you're ready to just take us through what are the key aspects or highlights that we are looking into on the Media Tech Hub platform. Karibu.
Thank you, Titus. Can we all see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, I want to appreciate everyone that has spoken in regards to the importance of involving technology in our media space, which I think is very, very critical. And even though we have been doing it in different projects, this is now a specific project that will focus on media and technology. So some of the things that we have done under the Media and Tech Hub project is, as my partner Jambi Wangacha mentioned, we did data journalism training. Here we involved journalists who are interested in using data solutions to do their stories. We've realized there's very rare or very few stories which have been published by journalists and have used data to support their stories. And we believe that it's very critical because that way the audience, the public is well informed and they're able to actually see factual data in their stories. So it's our hope that through the Media and Tech Hub project that we'll continue to see such stories. And also even through fact-checking training, that the same happened. This one we partnered with Africa Check, who are very familiar with fact-checking. And also we have our own online platforms such as the Radar database, where the journalists can access information on cases that have been adjudicated upon. This is a platform that's accessible to all journalists. We've also done a lot of trainings on investigative reporting and also safety and security. Also, we partnered with Media Council on this to do that training on safety and security and also gender sensitive reporting. These are just some of the trainings that we feel are very, very crucial for journalists, and we hope will continue even as we have identified different gaps on tech issues that have been identified that journalists need to understand better. So we hope to continue to partner with all of you in doing this training so that our journalists are better equipped. So another thing that we've done under the Media Tech Hub is virtual hackathons. We did one nationally here in Kenya. We called it the 254 COVID Hackathon. Hashtag hack COVID corruption. This one came about because we wanted to engage software developers to develop the COVID-19 aid tracker. There's the expose that was done of the KEMSA the COVID millionaires. So we realized that there were a lot of funds that have been come into this country, and we do not know how they have been utilized, and there's not much information around it. So this COVID-19 aid tracker will assist to give such information to even help us understand how funds are being utilized even in our counties, which has continued to remain a very, very huge challenge, even so to speak, currently. So we also did Africa Hackathon in partnerships with the Magamba Network in Zimbabwe. Here we looked at more of following COVID money in the African region, and also recently the status of the COVID-19 vaccination program to ensure that there is a transparent, careful, and equitable vaccine distribution. And here, just to mention, is the Action for Transparency app comes in handy because we can use the app to even report on cases of administration of COVID vaccine illegally in our counties, and we can do that report anonymously. So what we hope to achieve further is to bring journalism and tech together through our innovation lab. Here we are going to have a lot of software developers and who will create solutions for media development. We already have different partners on board. We have iHub, we have Innovation for Change, we have Cyberspace, we have TechnoSol Africa and others who've joined us in this very good co-creation of solutions for media development. We've had one of our panels talk about that there's a very huge gap in how that there are tech solutions which are done by our software engineers and our data scientists, but journalists are not able to use these solutions in their stories. So we'll have this platform, we'll be able to interact software developers and journalists to do different stories. And then we'll also have a mentorship hub. Here, the main focus area is on sharing knowledge from experienced media industry players. This came about through the grant and mentorship program that we have been undertaking under the Action for Transparency project. We've involved different mentors, including even Dr. Nancy Booker, who is in the panel. We've involved different media stakeholders who have provided the required skills to journalists to do investigative reporting. So this is going to continue under the Media Tech Hub. And once we launch the Tech Hub, we'll even have opportunities for journalists to pitch their stories how they will use data solutions to do investigative stories. So we hope that this platform will be able to help journalists to do even better investigative reports and using the support of data. So we are going to have that platform where we are even going to offer grants to journalists to do such data solutions related stories. We'll also have a training hub. Here we will have training opportunities and continuous online learning to acquire knowledge and new skills in investigative journalism and other topics, even on gender sensitive reporting, safety and security, access to information, fact checking, and all that. Here we hope to have more and more academia. We hope to have iLab Africa on board and such like organizations, School of Journalism, Mass and Communication, and such like organizations who are going to help us to even provide these online courses to journalists. You realize that this Tech Hub will be a platform where journalists are able to access free of charge. It will be an online platform accessible to all journalists so that they can be able to build their skills and knowledge as journalists. Thank you so much. That is just a brief about our Media Tech Hub. And once we launch the project, we hope to have lots of you on board. Asanteni.
All right, thank you very much, Caroline. I hope that we have all engaged with the components of the Media Tech Hub. And as Caroline has pointed out, this is more of an interactive platform that will be generating content through our engagements, different from the trainings that we've done, coming up with creative ways of sharing the skills and knowledge that is shared in our daily trainings or the frequent trainings that we do, and also what we can do together as under the Innovation Lab, what the problems that journalists are able to identify, and techies are able to identify those problems and accept those as a challenge to develop solutions for media development work. So thank you very much. And I'm hoping I can see a bit of reaction on the chat. I saw a few claps, but not enough. Any reactions? Thank you very much. I can see a few reactions. Just tells us that we are all together in this discussion. And we look forward to working a lot with all of you. So this is, I think, the moment that we are at on launching the app. My apologies that we've ran a bit over time, of course, due to the challenges that we faced at the beginning, but we hope to catch up on that and ensure that we can finalize within the time that is remaining. And therefore, maybe we can have a video of a showcasing of the launch, then we can Thank you very much for the video just showcasing that we have officially launched. I think the link to the platform should be shared on the chat as soon as we are proceeding with this. And therefore, kindly feel free to interact and share your views, thoughts, and on the platform. But in the meantime, I would request that we go, because this is a tech forum. I think we are in media, we are using all platforms. Please go to your Twitter handles and just tweet something, hashtag journalism and tech, on what you've experienced today. And I will be just checking that we are interacting on this. Let me see. Can I see any tweets? Make sure you tag A40 at A40 Kenya. So let's see. Share your experience from today's forum. Put the word out there. So this is now just an interactive stage for all of us to participate in. If you've not had a chance to talk to us, please do online. The tags have been shared, the online tags on Twitter and Facebook have been shared. So I'm just checking to see where we at. Am I seeing somebody has tweeted journalism and tech? Then for those who have any questions that you think we should reflect on, not necessarily on this forum due to time, but afterwards, maybe you can share on the chat. Very nice, thank you. I can see a few, quite a number of tags. Let me see. I'm not seeing you guys on Twitter. Journalism and tech, hashtag. I'm seeing the organizations, Media Council of Kenya, A40, Transparency International. Yes, I'm seeing Indeje at Action for Transparency says Media Tech Hub will be free for journalists. Yes, it will be free. So far we have done trainings. Thank you for the information, adopt technology and use it for good. Awesome. Indeje, David, we get your insights online. Thank you very much. Jacob Nyongesa, this was great engagement on tech and media. Awesome. Very good engagements online. Don't be left out. Tell us what you think about our engagements today. Great. I hope we can all now have a feel of the Media Tech Hub platform. From my end, I'm able to see the platform, and I'm hoping the same applies from your end. Thank you for the different messages that I'm seeing online. Great experience, great discussions. Yolanda tweeting all the way from Zimbabwe. Exciting times for journalists and tech. Great conversations all around. Awesome, thank you very much. Yeah, we have, who else? I'm seeing Stella Kari saying this is a good initiative to empower journalists, understand and embrace the use of technology in their work. Well done. I'm seeing Jones Baraza on behalf of Cyberspace Kenya. We are happy and proud to be part of this initiative. We can count on our continued support moving forward. Awesome. We'll be reaching out. Jacob Nyukuri. This is amazing, and we look forward to partnerships and collaborations. Yeah, share your thoughts, experiences, and we're happy to get them as we move to our last speaker, our two last speakers. We have Joanna from For Your Media Institute. Very informative. Abdikadir Osman, very informative, interesting section for journalists. Congrats. Thank you too for being part of this engagement. Where are we at? So thank you all. Maybe I'll just now call on Johanna to share a bit more on opportunities for partnership and
Thank you, Titus. Can you all see me?
Maybe we need to stop. Okay, now we are good. We can.
Thank you, Titus. I work as International Program Coordinator at For Your Media Institute, and I have been involved in the Action for Transparency project and the establishment of the Media Tech Hub. When it comes to opportunities and partnership, the A4T project and the Media Tech Hub are especially interesting and important. Modern technology, as well as the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, has forced us and the A4T team at TI Kenya to find new partnerships, both national and regional, which has resulted in additional funding, new interesting opportunities, and strengthening the ongoing activities within the A4T project. The A4T project, and especially the Media Tech Hub, has created synergies and collaborations, both within Kenya, regionally, and between different For Your partners internationally. Collaborations focusing on approaches and tools, various policy engagements, social accountability, and strengthening governance and public expenditure tracking. Within Kenya, TI Kenya has deepened its collaboration with various partners and stakeholders, such as journalists and software developers, Africa Check, Innovation for Change, the Auditor General, to name a few. Regionally, A4T has engaged in knowledge sharing and learning with other For Your projects and programs. The Sub-Saharan Charm project, as an example, the consortium to promote human rights, civic freedoms, and media development, which For Your is part of, has supported the Media Tech Hub initiative. For Charm, the collaboration has been very important for regional coalition building between media, tech, and civil society. Also, collaborations between A4T and Magamba Network, as we heard, in Zimbabwe was established during the creation of the Media Tech Hub. As you know, Magamba is one of the Zimbabwe's leading creative organizations when it comes to art and digital media, activism, and innovation, and is also one of For Your's partners in our ongoing media development program in Zimbabwe. Sharing and learning experience also include engagements between the A4T team and MRDI, a well-known media training organization and a For Your partner in Bangladesh. Other collaborations include JamLab and Wits University in South Africa, to name a few. These regional and international collaborations has been very inspiring, not only for TI Kenya, but also for other partners, including us as For Your. In this aspect, For Your sees itself as a door opener for new partnerships and opportunities. The collaborations have contributed to capacity building, knowledge sharing, and inspiration when it comes to new innovative tools and methods in the media tech, when it comes to fighting corruption. One example is the virtual hackathons that Caroline mentioned earlier, which was organized by TI Kenya and Magamba Network in Zimbabwe, where software developers were engaged to further develop tools for public expenditure tracking and accountability initiatives, such as the COVID-19 aid tracker and the Follow COVID Money site. These new initiatives, which has proven to be very effective, has been requested to be adopted by other stakeholders. This shows that there is an opportunity to enhance the project's influence beyond Kenya and play a greater role in sustaining initiatives to promote the use of technology, enhanced transparency, accountability, and eradicate corruption at regional and global levels. However, the sustainability of the A4T project continues to be great concern to project partners. And there is, as always in international development cooperation, a need for long-term funding to future anchor the project's impact with targeted stakeholders and duty bearers. Here we see that the Media Tech Hub has the potential for real sustainability as an online platform, and also the potential to become a physical hub. I want to take this opportunity to thank our donors, the Embassy of Sweden in Nairobi, the Swedish Institute Creative Force, and the CHARM project. Finally, I want to highlight the work of the A4T team at TI Kenya. During this challenging year, the team has been very active, flexible, and inventive. Despite the COVID-19 lockdown and despite the lack of long-term funding, new partnerships and tools were developed, and the A4T team has kept the project very useful and relevant. So well done to you. The Media Tech Hub will serve as a platform for information, inspiration, and knowledge, and is a great innovative example on how we can bring journalism, tech, and civil society together to fight corruption and strive for democratic development. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you for highlighting a lot of the opportunities that still exist in our work together with different stakeholders, not only in Kenya, but also regionally. There is quite a bit of work that we've done collaborating between journalists in Kenya and in Sweden. And therefore, this is just to highlight that this will be more of a collaborative engagement between ourselves, TI Kenya, Fuyo, and we invite all other partners that would want to work together with us or join our engagements. We have quite a number of networks that will be formed under the Media Tech Hub platform. There will be the A4T journalists that are already engaging, and we've been having sessions and platforms for sharing. We also have the A4T mentors. So we'll be providing platforms for those who are interested in mentorship to also join in. There'll be a network for techies for social change. We have our techies who've joined the different, the few hackathons. So the very first virtual hackathon on COVID-19 that was done in Kenya, and the regional hackathon, and the different platforms that have come from those hackathons. And there is also an opportunity that, like was mentioned by Caroline, that will be coming up in the beginning of next week for journalists to apply for grants on use of data journalism for their work to enhance governance and democracy in Kenya. So this brings us to a conclusion of this forum, and I now request my namesake, Titus Ogalo, to give a vote of thanks and bring this forum to a close as we finalize on today's engagements. Karibu Ogalo.
Thank you so much, Titus, and indeed to our dear participants and partners for this great conversation and for the launch of the Media Tech Hub. Indeed, I would have wished to apply my rough journalistic skills to do this vote of thanks in the form of news anchoring, giving the hour, but unfortunately I can't, because I'm not equipped with those skills. So I will just stick to highlighting some of the critical aspects that came out and that stood out for me during this conversation. In fact, throughout the conversation, two things that would summarize our conversation this morning to me would be that the centrality of journalism in promoting good governance has been affirmed in this conversation. And number two, another aspect that ran through our conversation is the fact that for us to promote good governance and the fight against corruption, indeed, it is something that must be done with collaboration and bringing all parties together. And media particularly plays a significant role, and was highlighted earlier on by Sheila, that in our previous work and from the work that TI Kenya has been doing, media has been rated favorably in terms of their role in promotion of good governance. And the discussion that we have had today takes us even that closer towards working with media techies towards promotion of good governance. And indeed, thank you so much. How I wish I could mention each and everybody who has made this launch successful. Unfortunately, time would not allow. So allow me just to highlight and really thank you so much for your participation, starting from all our partners, community leaders, community persons who have been with us in this process, our journalists who have been part of this process, who are still our critical partners, our partners from civil society and from techies who have been with us. We really, really appreciate you. And all our eminent discussants who really gave us some critical highlights in the conversation. We really, really appreciate you, and thank you so much for the support. And of course, definitely a warm thank you to our partners and donors who have supported us throughout this process, For Your Media Institute. We really, really appreciate the support that we have had from you and for making this a reality. We thank you so much for your time and of course for the support. We do realize that while we are bringing this discussion to an end, we have just launched the Media Tech Hub, and of course that is the beginning of another conversation. So we'd want to carry on with this kind of partnerships and with the discussion. So thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for being there. Let us see how we can escalate this conversation. I wouldn't really forget to thank our colleagues from TI Kenya also, starting from the Office of Executive Director Sheila Masinde, for the continued guide, our colleagues, Gitonga, who has worked tirelessly. I've learned, of course, I've always known that he has all those capabilities of moderation during the hitches that we had. Thank you so much for stepping up and for the work that you've done very well. And also Caroline, who has been working a lot in the background, who has made this kind of launch happen and successful. Thank you so much. And indeed to the entire TI Kenya staff who have also been part of the conversation and of the process in one way or the other, and also joined the conversation. Thank you so much for the time. We really, really appreciate your time. Asanteni sana. Let's carry on with the conversation. Thank you so much and have a very good evening.